Welcome Primary 5, Ms. Dima Ahmed is with you. Today we will continue in Unit 2, Concept 1, Lesson 3. In Lesson 1 we talk about the matter and we said that the matter is anything that has volume and mass. And we take that the matter has three states, which solid, liquid and gas. And we take that the solids have definite shape, definite volume, liquids have indefinite shape but definite volume, gases have indefinite shape and indefinite volume. In this lesson we will know something new which is called particles. Particles. If we take any matter, if it was solid, liquid or gas, and we put it under the microscope, we can see that it contains of very small parts called particles. So the matter consists of smaller parts called particles. As you can see, it's a small piece of solid and we put it under the microscope. That's the shape that we will see. This circle is called particles. So a lot of particles form the matter. So matter consists of smaller parts called particles. The particles is the, the something that make the matter solid or liquid or gas. Let's understand how the particles can make the matter solid or liquid or gas. Let's start with the particles of solid. As you can see in this picture, particles or the space between particles of solids are very close. So the space between particles here in the solids is very what? Very close. And they have less energy. Why? Do you remember? Because it has definite shape and definite volume. So the energy that makes the particles move is very low. So the particles doesn't move from one place to another, but it just vibrate in its place or move around each other. But it don't leave its place and go to another place. For example, this particle cannot go here. It's still in its place, but just it vibrates. Okay, so in particles, we will talk about three points. In particles of solid or liquid or gas, to understand them, we will talk about 3 points in particles. The space between the particles, the energy of the particles, and the motion of the particles. In solids, we started with the space and I told you that the space between solids is very close and the energy is less energy. Why? Because the motion of the solid is vibrate in its place or move around each other. It don't leave its place. It's still inside its place and move in its place. So it has less energy. As you can see, it vibrates in its place. Let's go to the particles of liquid. As I said before, we will talk in the particles in 3 points, which are space, energy, and motion. Let's start with the space. As you can see, that's the particles of liquids or water. As you can see, the space between the particles is like solids or it has more space. Yes, it has more space. And the movement of the particles of liquids it's like the solids or it has more energy. Yes, it has more energy. It can move from its place, but solids they vibrate in its place, right? So they have more space and they have more energy and they can move more freely than the solids, and they take the shape of their containers and can slide over each other. What is the meaning of slide over each other? That's meaning that anyone can come and change its place totally to another place. Okay, as you can see in the picture. Okay, so particles of liquids have more space, more energy, can move more freely. Now let's go to the particles of gas. As you can see, the particles of gas, the space between them is very large. So it has a lot of space. Can you remember the space in the solids? They are very good, very close. In liquid, yes, it's more, it has more space, and in gases has a lot of space. Let's go to the energy. As you can see, it's moving very fast, so it has a lot of energy. Let's start with the solid. What is the energy of the solid? It has less energy. Liquids, more energy, but gases have a lot of energy. Let's go to the third point, which is the movement. The movement of gases, they move very freely, as you can see in the picture. Okay, they move quickly in different directions. Okay, let's start with the solid in the movement. The movement of the solid vibrate in its place or move around each other. In liquids, it moves more freely, but in gases, it moves, yes, very free. So, particles of matter, they are the building unit of matter. Why they are the building unit of matter? Because some particles will build the matter. If we put some particles beside each other, that build the matter. So, the what builds the matter? It's the particles. So the particles are the building unit of matter. If there is a question of give reason for why any matter or why the solids have definite shape and volume, we can answer by the the space and the energy and the movement. If there is a question on give reason for solids have definite shape and volume, or liquids have indefinite shape and definite volume, or gases have indefinite shape and indefinite volume, we answer these three questions by mention the space and the energy and the movement of each type of particles. For example, why the brick is a solid? Because the space are very close to each other, they have less energy, they vibrate in each place or move around each other. So we answer this question in the 3 points of particles: the space, the energy, the move. Okay? So, if we have two matters and both of them are solids, that's meaning that the particles of them is similar? No. The particles of gold is totally different than the particles of iron because some particles of gold will build a matter called gold, and some particles of iron will build a matter called iron. So they are the same in their properties, but in the structure they are different. They have the same properties of space and energy and movement, but in the structure of the particles, the gold is different from the iron. Okay, so every matter has its own particles, but if they are in the same state, they have the same properties of particles, not the structure of particles. Also, the particles of water, it's not the particles of milk, because the particles of milk build what? Build milk, and particles of water build what? Water. Can the particles of milk build water? No. So, each property is different from the other in its structure. Measuring the matter. We can measuring the length and the mass of the matter. Let's start with the length. Length meaning how tall is the matter. Okay, length meaning what? How tall is the matter? If you have a pencil and you want to know what is the length or how tall it is this pencil, you will use what? Yes, the ruler. And if it's something taller, you will use the measuring tape. So, to measure the length, we use ruler or measuring tape. Do you remember the mass from lesson 1? Mass is the amount of matter in an object. Okay, so we use scales to measure the mass. The scales we can see it in the markets. The scales can tell us, for example, the fruits is how many kilogram, the cheese is how many gram. So we use scales to measure the mass of the matter, but we use measuring tape or ruler to measuring the length. Matter can change from one state to another. So the solids can be liquid and the liquid can be solid. Let's go to this example. The ice is which state of matter? Yes, solid. If you get out the ice from the freezer and put it in the kitchen, what will happen to the ice? Very good. It will what? It will melt and change into water. So ice, which was solid, when it melts, it change into what? Water, which is liquid. If you have a bottle contain water, the water which is state of matter? Yes, liquid. And put it in the freezer, the water will change into ice. So the ice is solid. So when we put the water in the freezer, it changes from liquid to solid. And this process is called freezing. So when the matter changes from solid to liquid, we call this process melting. But when the matter changes from liquid to solid, we call this process freezing. What makes the matter change from liquid to solid? We change what? We change what from the properties of matter? We change the temperature, right? We here, when we put the water in the freezer, we decrease the temperature or make cooling to the matter. So the matter changes from liquid to solid. And when we get out the ice from the freezer, we increase the temperature. We make heating to the matter. So the matter change from solid to liquid. So matter cannot change from one state to another if we change its temperature. And we have a very important note. There are some things that are not a matter, like energy. Energy has a mass? No. Energy has a volume? No. So energy is not a matter. Any form of energy, sound, light, heat, kinetic, potential, chemical, any form of energy is an energy, not a matter, because it has no mass and no volume. Thank you for listening. Miss Hiba Ahmed was with you.